to like check in all my code, basically make sure that I can just blow up this computer and walk and go somewhere else and pick up again somewhere else. And so I wrote bug out as this Claude command. And then I consequently needed bug in, which was like the other side of that. So when I just show up, and I wasn't working on this computer last, I was working on my desktop. And so I just say bug in, and it's basically checking the machine to make sure that it has everything installed that should be here, all my settings. It's checking like all the, using brew, homebrew to make sure all the tools are up to date. It checks in the latest version of the repos. It tries to connect to a bunch of like live MCP servers and data sources that I have set up to make sure that they're still working and good. And I just ran an optimization on it. It told me it was only going to take like 30 seconds, but obviously after 5 minutes, it's still taking a while to run. So it must be installing some stuff. But what I wanted to do, I've got a bunch of fun things to do today. So hope you're all ready for it. Well, we're excited to see your pitches. Before we do that, I'm going to ask for two things. One, a couple weeks ago, I tried to do a demo of Serendipity, but we weren't really ready. I've been waiting. I waited a whole week for them to approve it in the App Store so that anybody could download it, and then they rejected it again. It's like I'm stuck on some stupid thing that it's not like some big deal, but I can't seem to get it fixed. So, but you can still get it from TestFlight. So one, I would love for you to help me break it again. And the way you do that is all you have to do is just go to serendipity.vip. If you have it only works on iPhone, although I did just get an Android phone, so I can start to make it work on Android. And if you have to have install TestFlight first, it'll prompt you to if not. And then you go back to that link and download the app. And when you sign up, it doesn't like record any info about you or anything. It's really quick to sign up and just check into Station Austin. And what that'll do is it'll cause like 50 check-ins to happen all at once. And then when I get back, I will just go to Claude, which can see both all the code and the live database and all the logs. And I'll say, go look at the past, like what happened today. Go look at all the people that logged in and see what you can learn. And what it'll do from that is it'll go look and it'll be like, oh, like I looked at the logs, and it'll basically figure out like, oh, it always comes back with things like, oh, actually these check-ins didn't work right, and these things didn't happen. This was supposed to happen, and this didn't, and this many things did work right. But inevitably at this stage, it'll find things that are wrong. So that would super help me out. You don't have to do anything else, but if you could totally, if you have an iPhone, download Serendipity and just check into Station, that would be awesome. If I go on mine, I'm not going to call anybody out, but I can see if anybody's done it. I'm not seeing anybody yet. It's just me all by myself, and I'm super lonely. So if you could help me out, that would be awesome. I would love to get up to like 20 or 30. That would be super cool. So now you can see it says, let me do the Google MCP smoke test. MCP servers, hopefully you're all using. These are like one of the main ways you connect to other stuff. One of the complicated things about my setup is I have a lot of email addresses and accounts. So I need to have MCP servers that can connect to my Capital Factor account and my personal account and then like another account. And so it's really set up to usually just do one. And so I have a bunch of different ones. And so it's testing right now as part of like before I start working, like is everything connected? Is everything together? And hopefully that'll finish. 8 people checked in. Thank you. Kevin, Perry, Shreyas, TJ, Prachi LS, appreciate you. Please break it. It hasn't broken yet. Like I see you all there. There's this really cool feature, and you can only do it while you're here. But like I just opened up LS, and if I go to LS and then I say find this person, this actually works now. And the thing is, you're supposed to have an arrow, which doesn't work. LS, are you here? Can you accept? Did it send it to you? Maybe it won't work because I'm just trying to demo it. Try it again. All right, hold on. Let me try again. Find this person. Okay, she got it. So now it should pop up with like a little like, oh, there it is. My little searching like radar. Come on, come over. And it says 15 feet, 14 feet, 13 feet, 12 feet, 10 feet, 5 feet, 3 feet, 2 feet. Tap your phones to connect. Great meeting. Yeah. You met LS. And now it like tags us and we get points for like having like a connection. And so it's just kind of weird and funny, but like it's one of the ways if you're here, oh, you'd be the first person ever besides me to connect in LS. And you get points and you go up on the leaderboard, both just for being here, but also for like finding people. And so once we get enough people on here, then you could actually post a question like, I need help with this. And someone might be like, I can help you. And you're like, awesome, find them. And then you like go find them and then bump and like rock it on. All right, awesome. So that's where it's our little quick serendipity update. Thank you all for helping, especially the 8 of you. Please more if you have time. All right, next thing. I would love to have 3 volunteers for today, for during class today. These are people you should think if you're volunteering for this, like, I'm a fucking badass coder. Because you're gonna do a live programming experiment. You can use whatever system you want, but probably I would use Claude, you can do whatever you want. And whatever you pick, I will reimburse you for 1 month of like the pro plan, like the max plan. So you can like max out your credits this class. I got one hand, how many hands? Who's the best programmers though? Tell me why you're the best programmer.
I'm good.
You're just good? Been coding since 8th grade?
I was into AI since middle school.
You were disadvantaged because all of them got to go after you. You want to try one more time?
Yeah. I make really good AI pipelines.
I make really all right. All right, we'll take 4. We got 4. Okay, 4 volunteers. Here's the challenge. Did anybody see yesterday, last week, a couple days ago, Gary Tan, the CEO of Y Combinator, released his set of slash commands? Anyone see this? Someone want to tell me what it was? Can you say? Sorry, she was eating and I called her out. I'll just keep talking so you can chew. All right, you ready? No, not yet. All right, so Gary Tan, CEO of Y Combinator, amazing marketing move. Oh, finally we're done checking in. You can see it did all this stuff. Bug incomplete, prerequisites. It's like, oh, had this problem with this thing, but it's like, whatever, there's always a problem with something. Key findings, you need to do some cleanup. And here's the state of all your things. And now I could go run my guy, run Serendipity. You ready? All right, what does it do? And you didn't tell me? My gosh, you're like, you fail. You're out. Like, he just said she met him at South by and got early access to this before we all heard about it. All right, all right, do you need a microphone?
Gary Tan.
Yes.
I have a photo next to him.
All right,
Wow.
tell us, please.
Yeah, tell us.
How do I use this? Oh, okay.
You just talk.
It's like basic. Oh my gosh. Sorry.
It's like a microphone.
Okay. It's like his workflow and how he uses Claude Code and like the skills he uses and stuff.
Yeah, and why is it good?
I don't know.
Yeah, that's all you got. Did you try it?
Yeah.
Okay. Did you use any of the commands? What command was most useful?
Wait, I just put in all of them because that's what you said you did. So I was like,
Yeah.
okay, I'll just try.
All right, you can give that back to TJ. All right, so basically he came up with a toolkit of a bunch of commands. He checked them in as open source in GitHub. It's got that's a great way to market it. So you measure GitHub by how many stars you get. It said, last I heard, 40,000 stars. I'm sure it's got way more than that now. And basically it's like a workflow set of commands you use to help run what you're doing. And some of them are really interesting because some of them are modeled after the way YC works. Like one of them is like called office hours. And it calls on a set of reviewers, a dozen different agents that review your code and give you a bunch of feedback. And it's really kind of meant to be a way that you can really quickly iterate and do a lot with one person. It looks really cool. He had a lot of good suggestions in there. I also have some of my own workflows. And I'll show you something later I've been working on that has some things in common. But I immediately went and adopted those. I like pulled those in. And there was 1 or 2 things I was actually really impressed. I asked, Claude, I said, Claude, which of these things should I use? Should I import? Like, look at his thing and tell me what I should, look what I'm doing. Like, what should I do? And it was like, oh, there's a lot of things you should do. He's like, but actually your thing's better at this, this, and this. So I had some redeeming qualities. There were a few things of mine that were already better. One of them being that like he does a dual review, like Claude and Codex, and I do a 4-way review with Claude, Gemini, Grok, and Codex. So anyway, but lots of good suggestions, and it was a great marketing move, a really great way to promote Y Combinator, to promote what they're doing, and to be helpful. Like he's going to help people start a whole bunch of companies. So then I was thinking about like first selfishly what I could do, but then really what you could do, and what would you guys need to go do this. And so what I would like the 4 of you to do first during this class, your challenge, which you have to like, I said I'll reimburse you for 1 month of your upgrade, but you earn it today. And whatever you do, you have to commit to like open sourcing for what you do for this thing. You have to commit to open sourcing into this. And you can each think about this independently and differently. If you have an hour and a half to work on it. What is a set of slash commands that make you use credits better? That make you understand the credits you're using? That make you optimize the credits you're using? That make you solve one of the biggest problems I hear you are all having, right? Which is like, how do we get the most out of the credits we have, right? And I would think if we could come up as a class with like a set, even, it doesn't have to be even super sophisticated, but a basic set of tools that help you get the most out of the credits you have, it would help all of us, it would help all of you, and might be something actually a lot of other people would want to use too. So that's my challenge to you. You can, if you choose to accept it, go sign up for whatever you want to go use and max out as many credits as you can for the next hour and a half. Planning it, thinking about what the best way to do it is, coming up with a solution, being able to then pitch or slash demo something. You get like 5 minutes at the end of class. Okay? And you can use anything you want. I would personally recommend whatever you use, it probably should be smart enough to use different tools at some point anyway to like get the most out of it too. All right, so that's the challenge for class. All right, so now we're gonna do pitches, demos, and then we're gonna, I think, hear a little bit from Eric, and then I'm gonna show another demo of something that we're working on this week that's really fun, and then we're gonna see the demos of whatever you built, and then we have one super fun, spectacular, extra special demo on the way out. It's on a different floor. Am I missing anything? All right, you're in charge, handing off.
If you guys are demoing, can you come up?
So how do I like so if I need to like manipulate stuff like on the thing, like I would just have to come to the laptop and do that?
Yeah. I mean, you can have take your laptop.
Oh, okay. All right. Okay, sure. What's up, guys? My name's Arnav Basine. I'm a CS student here at UT Austin. And what I made was sort of, so it's an app called Play Value. It sort of gives analytics for everything like basketball related, and then a little bit of like fantasy stuff in there as well. So the problem that I encountered was that NBA front offices, scouts, fantasy managers, and basketball analysts lack an accessible visual tool that combines advanced player analytics and lineup simulation and fit scoring. Existing solutions, right, they are either locked behind like expensive platforms or like something like Second Spectrum or Synergy, or they're limited to like raw stat dumps, right, like Basketball Reference. Or they lack actionable context about how a player fits a specific team's scheme. So like the primary user that I was thinking of was that there would be three main groups: NBA front office staff and scouts, fantasy basketball managers, and college basketball analysts and student scouts. The goal with this was to build a functional web-based prototype that lets users search NBA players, view rich analytical profiles with visualizations, construct five-man lineups with real-time analysis, simulate player fit against team archetypes, and a bunch of other stuff. I know this isn't really like a practical tool that can be used on like a day-to-day basis, but it has a specific use case and a specific target group. Some goals I had were that there would be a searchable database of at least 20 active NBA players with comprehensive stats, right? Traditional and
I think we got to jump to the demo.
Oh, okay, sure. So
We're pitching,
yeah.
but we need more demo.
Yeah. Okay. So looking here, you have your dashboard. You can see. Well, currently there's only 20 players. The average win shares across every player in the database is around 9.5, and then the top score is SGA with 31.2 points per game, and the highest player efficiency rating is Nikola Jokic with 31.5. So it gives sort of a dashboard with all the main information about all the players, with top rated, best contract value, highest upside from a fantasy perspective. Yeah, so then we can go into here. We can look at any player we want, right? So let's say we look for specifically Jaylen Brown. I want to see how he's doing. You can look at that and click on him. Then it takes you to the instance page where it gives you all of the trad statistics, right? Such as like true shooting percentage, points per game. But then it also gives a little bit more of a detailed, in-depth view of what their skill profile is. So what they specialize in and what they can do with that. So clearly here we can see that his game leans to a little bit more towards scoring, a little bit more toward like impact and efficiency, and he's less of a playmaker, right? Now we can go to another example, something like Jason Tatum, perfect, same team. And we see that his playmaking is a little bit better. His scoring is also up there. Them being on the same team, those players complement each other very well. So that's the player search page. Within that, there's also a bunch of search features, right? You can look at it in a table like this and see everything comparatively from the search page. You can filter by position. There's a couple other sorting statistics you can use. And yeah, moving on to the lineup builder, you have your starting five. So let's say I want to do just the 5 most stacked players in the league. So I'm just going to do all 5 of them. And then I'm just going to pick, let's say, 1B, and then for the 4, let's put Jalen Brunson, right? So then we see here, the combined points per game of all of them is 137.6. This is an insane team that we have here. It gives you a bunch of analytics about this team and like how good it would be from a fantasy perspective. Spacing grade and defense grade, both are A's. Gives sort of that combined profile of all 5 players together in one sort of view. So you can sort of get a cohesive view of everything that's going on within your lineup. And then you can even check an archetype fit, right? If you want some like pace and space like the Thunder, you can check that, and it's a 99 overall. You can see something like the Cavs, who use a lot more drop coverage, and then see that is like an 86. It's a little bit less of a fit. So yeah, that's the lineup page. You can even simulate. So let's say Luka Doncic against the pace and space Thunder. It'll simulate it, and it'll tell you exactly how he goes against. All right, his expected win shares, just a bunch of analytics, even some more specific things about sets they would run. I know this is all just a bunch of jargon, but basically it's telling you exactly what you need to know when you're playing a player against a certain team. It's very insightful that way. And it's something that I don't think I've ever seen in any of the basketball tools before. Again, you have tools like Basketball Reference. Those are more just stat dumps. This is more of an analytics type of like analysis of like what's happening. And then lastly, the last feature I implemented was this trade analyzer, right? Let's just say we switch Halliburton for Giannis, and we just click add for both of them. Obviously, this would be This would be a really bad trade for Obviously, this would be a really bad trade for the Pacers, and then, for the Bucks. What was I saying? But yeah. And then we can see here it gives a bunch of value breakdowns, literally says who wins and stuff like that, and gives more of a stat comparison. So yeah, basically the aim with this was to really target that niche field of like just giving more analytics with regards to sports and giving it in one site where you can like kind of mess with everything all at the same time. Yeah, that's my answer. Any questions?
Totally cool. I think the layout was particularly nice. How did you, it really polished and interactive, and how did you do this?
Well, thanks. I mean, okay, so one, I was just thinking about like, honestly, like.
What'd
I
you
was-
build it in?
Huh?
What'd you build it in?
I built it with Cursor.
With Cursor?
Yeah. I was thinking about like what looks like kind of like cybery. I don't know if that's like a right word for it, but I was just like blue is like a good color for that. It's like dark, it like works with everything. Now this doesn't really fit like other websites. So again, Basketball Reference is just like a white stat dump page. This again, I was hoping to make it a little bit more interactive. You know, you have your instance pages and stuff like that, and like just like from like a perspective of like a scout, what is everything they would need to see on a page at one time?
Yeah.
And I just threw all that in. I was like, make sure it has this, make sure it has this. You know, there were iterations again and again. Like initially, the dashboard page just had stuff like this. Another thing, I specifically remember adding this table view so you could see it all like this when looking through different players. I don't know. I just kind of thought about it from the perspective of a user. What would they like? What features would they like? And then with regards to appearance, I was just like, keep it simple. Keep a dashboard on the side, you know, keep all your instance pages easy to access, everything easy to see, sorting easy. Yeah.
So when you're demoing, it is an extension of a pitch. You started out heavy on the pitch,
Yeah.
and then Josh mentioned get into it. So you're describing the story. A lot of times when you are demoing, you're explaining it to someone who may not be your end user.
Yeah.
They're not an NBA scout, for example, but you can help them understand what an NBA scout mindset. Here's what they look for. Here's why it's valuable. Here's how they can now find this information at their fingertips and get them into the boat with you from that point of view so that they understand it. You said a few times, now this isn't something you guys would use for, or it's something that, but the reverse of that, the mirror image of that is, hey, you're an NBA scout, okay? And you're trying to find the best matchup and then you can demo it and tell the story at the same time.
That makes sense. Okay. Good to know.
Okay. This looks really cool.
Thank you.
Your pitch was terrible. You read the whole thing,
Yeah.
which we've told you not to do. And it was just super boring. You were like, it does this, and it does this.
How
and
could I
can
have
do
made it
this.
more interesting, more interactive maybe?
Yeah, and so then as soon as you stopped reading the pitch,
Right.
and you were like, okay, I'm going to show the demo, one, everything got way better because you just were actually talking to us. Like, honestly, like I was trying to listen to your pitch before and I couldn't. I just find my mind wandering because you're just reading this piece. Like, nobody wants to have anybody read something to them. And the easy way to not do that is just don't write all the words. You need to write bullet points. Like, this is at least my trick. And it's like, if you have bullet points, you still have notes on what you say. You can still look at it, but you're forced to not read it. You have to like look at the bullet point and then say some stuff. Look at the next bullet point and say some stuff. And at least like you can have notes, but don't read it because like it changes everything about the way you deliver it. And then the actual way to demo it, was exactly backwards of everything you did. You started off, it looks like you pitched it the way you built it, and you're like, look, let me show you from the top to bottom. Like, here's a dashboard, here's a player search, now I can build a lineup, then I can do a simulation, and at the end, the whole payoff is the trade analyzer. Right? Like, and from the user's perspective, and I don't know shit about basketball or what do I want?
Matchups and
Fantasy football,
Oh,
whatever, yeah, fantasy games.
this is basketball.
Thank you, I know, but like by fantasy, with fantasy betting, right? Other than like, but I think this starts with, I'm on a fantasy betting team, and I'm trying to figure out whether or not to trade this player. So I run the trade analyzer.
So you want to start with the marquee feature?
We'll just start with like,
The story.
this is the
The
why,
story,
right?
yeah.
You know, it's like, because you just kept getting better and better, but it was like, by the end, I'm like, okay, that was why we did all this, right?
Okay,
But
that-
I didn't understand any of the other stuff.
I think I was aiming for more of a build-up, but I
No,
think
it's
that was the wrong
it's the
approach, yeah.
reverse, right? It's just like, and it's look, a lot of times it's the reverse. Don't worry, that's like a common answer for things. But it's like really, it's like, okay, let me show you why you would use this. Like, does anybody play fantasy football or fantasy basketball? Awesome. You know when you have that this might be wrong because I'm just making shit up. But like someone asks you to trade, or you're trying to make this trade, and you're trying to decide. I was trying to do that last week. I was trying to decide with this person versus this thing, or this thing versus this team. So I
Sell
opened-
why people need it.
Right, and so I opened up my app, and it's already got all your shit in there. Don't show me you didn't do how to create an account, but it was kind of like the beginning stuff. No, jump right to the end. So I jumped right in, and here's my team. And I could just pull up that other player and look at him and analyze it, and I could see that, wow, it wasn't really a good trade for me because here's what it did to my team. And if I looked at my team makeup, it didn't change my team in the right way or whatever. And so, and you're not saying it can do this, it can do this, it can do this. You're saying, you're telling a story about how you used it, right? And then now once we understand that, you can say, so then I wanted to go like, run a simulation. Right, and you take a step back, right, and like I was like, and so now I'm really just trying to look at my whole team, right? Now you're like, I just think everything goes
I see what you're
backwards
saying, yeah,
and
yeah.
makes way more sense when you've seen the end result.
So start with the main feature you want to sell, the main selling point.
The main value prop,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
right.
that
Just
makes
explain
sense.
like why would you use this? Oh, I'm trying to solve this problem. Solving the problem is not player search. It's not lineup builder. It's
Yeah,
not. It's
yeah.
trade
Because that's
analyzer,
everywhere, yeah.
right? Well, and it's just that's the payoff, right?
Yeah.
Pickup.
Yeah. So yeah. Anyway, so I would go completely backwards.
The cheat code is if you think about telling someone a story,
Yeah.
right? It helps get your pitch and demo in a much more logical order, and it explains it along the way. It just works, and it's more memorable.
All right. Good job.
Sounds good. Thank you so much.
Thanks.
Thanks, guys.
All right. Hey everyone, my name's Akshat, and I'll be demoing Orbit today. So, who has a goal right now that they are currently working on? I imagine that it's actually a lot of us. And so I was like thinking, how can you use technology to help people achieve their goals, right? And there's a lot of different habit trackers already out there, but I was like, how can I just like quickly make something that I would want to use, and I guess what are the bottlenecks right now with habit tracking? And so I went and looked at some other habit trackers. I kind of wish I used them a little bit more, but with kind of the short time that I had, one of the key missing features that I noticed is that accountability is a really hard thing. And I think what keeps me very accountable is other people. So like my friends, for example. And so what I did is I made a habit tracker that is kind of like a social circle. So think about Strava, where you can post kind of the run or the exercise, whatever workout you did, and then other people see it. Think about Belly. It's very similar, but it's with food. Where'd you go to eat, what you like, and what would you rate it, right? And there's many other apps like this too that have kind of exploded in recent times. Think like Be Real as well. And so I was like, what if you combine all of those? And then what if you also combine Atomic Habits with it? Atomic Habits is a book. To be honest, I haven't read all of it. I would like to, but I'm really bad at reading. And so that's one of my goals that I'm trying to improve. So maybe this app will help me with it.
Summarize it.
Hmm?
Have AI summarize the book.
Yeah. I've watched like a couple of YouTube videos that summarize the book. But like for example, one of the takeaways from the book is it takes about 21 days of doing something consistently to actually make it consistent and make it like a real habit. So I was thinking, what if you can make an app that is like the living and breathing version of Atomic Habits, but for yourself? And so this app is not entirely kind of like the final destination of that. It's kind of still a work in progress, but yeah, I'll go ahead and demo it. So it's called Orbit, and let's go ahead and like create a new habit today. So can someone tell me like a goal or a habit that they're working on right now?
Stop eating Tootsie Rolls.
Stop.
He's having one right
eating-
now.
You said Tootsie Rolls?
Yeah.
Starting in 5 minutes.
Next class.
Okay, well, let me just voice type. Stop eating Tootsie Rolls. I don't know if that's gonna work, but okay, whatever. This is stop eating junk food.
didn't work.
I think it's because it's in the simulator. Maybe that's why. But okay, let's say that's like a daily goal, and I'm gonna keep this one open to my friends in this app, and then I'm gonna go ahead and save this habit. And yeah, so now we can see this, and every day you're gonna get to see this in the app, along with many other kind of goals, whatever you have in here. And the main functionality here is that obviously with like push notifications and stuff to like remind you of this, you can go ahead and like check in. And so I just checked in into that goal of mine. So every day I'll see that new check-in, and then you can see it in here in this activity kind of in this kind of bar or feed that, hey, I did this today. And so over time you can build a streak, and with this you can have like lots of different push notifications that say like, oh, like you don't want to miss out on your like 50-day streak, right? And so it kind of is just like a nudge to help you keep achieving your goals every single day. And yeah, it's kind of, I kind of think of it as like a runway, and this is helping you take off. And then once you've taken off, then you're kind of consistent with it. And so that's the goal of this app. But the key feature here is that if I open up my other simulator, so this is my friend, I put it in as Ronak. And so this is Ronak, and he's already friends with me on this app. If I go to Circle, I'll see on activity that he can see that I checked in for this habit today. And so you can imagine, right, with like a lot of different habits, you can kind of have your friends kind of help you stay on track and kind of nudge you. And so it's like a real human being behind it, someone that you know and care about, and someone that cares about you as well, to help you achieve whatever your goals are. So you can also like comment and react and things like that. So it's kind of like a habit tracking social media, if you will. I think there's a lot of cool like push notification stuff that you can do with this. And I really want to, I think, integrate the book, Atomic Habits, and like the lessons and takeaways there are from that book into this app, because I don't think anything like that exists right now. And that, book it's super popular. So I think that would be really cool to do with this.
But without
That's
reading
about
it. But without reading it.
What? Yeah, without reading, yeah. You don't have to read the book to use the app, yeah.
Awesome. Super cool. I like it. Eric?
Yeah, so there's a couple other, I guess, motivational ones. Like Warren Buffett, I guess, writes his daughter a check, $100,000 or whatever, and if I don't lose weight by the end of the month, you get to cash it. And he relies on his internal cheapness to keep that from happening. Another one I've seen is, taking a topless picture of yourself, and it's going to get released in a month unless you lose your weight. So I think there's...
I keep getting those pictures from you.
We don't recommend all these. Yeah.
I just heard about that, but so I think there's some additional psychology that you could go on, and I like the idea of like putting it outside of your control. Like, oh my gosh, now I actually have to do this, or the whole world's going to know. So I think there's additional, we'll say, hacks out there for motivation that could be tapped into. But it sounds like a fun idea.
Two things. On your presentation, sometimes your voice, I don't know if you realize this, I don't know if it's when you don't have a confident part, you kind of drop the volume and use filler words, kind of. Just think about projecting out, and silent spaces are okay. Second thing, I really like the layout. How did you think about the design and it's clean and easy? What were some of the trade-offs you thought about, and how'd you come up with this design?
I let AI think about it.
Yeah, I think on that question, TJ, you need to go build one of these things. Nobody thinks about any of that. It just does it. You're like, make it, and it just spits it out. And then you're like, make it blue. And like, it changes the color.
And
You're
then
like,
you stick with it.
You're like, yeah, you're like, that's ugly.
Say,
Make
like,
that
this
bigger.
is too.
But the first draft, like, it just makes it.
Yeah, I actually did use Stitch, like Stitch by Google. It's like the Figma AI sort of thing. I used that for like one of the main screens, and like I was like, all right, you know what, this looks good enough, and then I gave it to Claude, and then Claude
Ran with it.
Yeah, I went with it. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. One more thing I'd like to share is on my Twitter feed, I recently saw this like alarm clock that like you have to put in a dollar bill into it to like for it to work the next morning, and then if you don't shut the alarm off in like 30 seconds,
It
the
shreds
dollar
it?
bill starts like shredding.
I love that. Oh my God, I love that. Okay, two more things. So one, when I think about your app, which I like a lot, I'm definitely a habit person, and I do this to take my medicines and like vitamins and more like supplements, vitamins and stuff. And like once I start logging it, I like am neurotic about like I have to do it so I can log it.
Really?
And the Apple Health app, if you in particular were to look at it or just tell it to mirror your notifications after that, it doesn't quite send normal notifications. It kind of does it in a special way that I find really helpful, where like it's kind of like sticks up like here's the things you still need to do right now, and you kind of only see the things you need right now, and it's really great. So I would check that out. And the second thing is just a good idea for an app for all of you. I was pitching my wife on this weekend. We just bought my son, who's 16, an alarm clock, which I thought was kind of funny because everyone uses their phone these days, which I do, and they were, but apparently he's been sleeping through. And I remember I was telling my wife this story about how, like, when I was little, I remember getting an alarm clock when I was like 6 or 7 for my birthday, and that was like a big deal. It was like, you're a grown up, you get to wake yourself up. And so then I had this idea through that for this app, which one of you might want to go build, which is basically an alarm clock. But what you do is I download the alarm clock app, and it's just like a regular alarm clock app for your phone that you put next to your nightstand. But then it sends an invite to like your mom or someone else that you ask, and ask them to like record, like kind of like when you're training Siri, it'll be like, say this, say this, say this, like video and audio, like record a few different things. And then basically using AI uses their voice and ideally whole video to basically make it like the alarm clock is them calling you and doing a video chat and then like telling you to wake up. Like, Josh, wake up, you've got to go to school. Like, and it's looking at your calendar so it can like change what it says about like where you got to go and like all kinds of stuff like that. So anyway, this is my like random idea for an alarm clock app. If any of you want to build it, I think it would be awesome. And if not, I might build it, but all right, good job.
Thank you.
You should have to send a message from one of your personalities in the feedback app you built.
George Washington's like,
What would he say to wake you up? After reading your calendar, what would he tell you to do? You've got a meeting at 10.
Okay. Hi, everyone. I'm Haroon. I'm a sophomore in CS. And before I start, I wanted to ask you guys, who here has opened Instagram to check something important, like a club meeting time, and then 1 hour later you're doom scrolling your entire evening away? Yeah, I know. I do this almost every day. And I completely hate it because I hate like having excess screen time for no reason. And I've used apps like Opal, ClearSpace, so on and so forth. But the issue is that they treat every single app unlocked the same way. And so whether I want to email or text some client or just doom scroll, I have to do 15 push-ups or do some 5-minute breathing thing. And so I built Intentional, which is an app where you cannot access your blocked apps until you get approval from an AI judge. And so I'll go ahead and just show you how it works. So I'm just going to create a block really quick. And let's say I just really want to block TikTok. Okay, so I'm going to go in the app. And I'm going to choose TikTok. I'm just going to block it for the next 30 minutes and use the default settings. And so as I go on TikTok, I'm hit with this blocked screen. I press argue to unlock, and I should get a notification any second now from Mr. Intent, who is the character behind the app. And he asked me, I blocked the app for a reason, convince me why. I'm going to say, man, I just really need to doom scroll right now. He's going to say, that's not a case. What's the actual reason? I'm just going to say, I'm super bored. Please let me in. And he's constantly pressing back, asking me questions, seeing what I'm meant to be doing instead to hold me accountable. And I'm going to say, please, please, please. And then he's going to ask if I have any work to do. I'm going to say, I have no work. Please just deny me. And so I'm not allowed to use TikTok. And so if I go back on the app, I can actually change the difficulty of the judge and the persona of the judge. And so I have 4 personas. The one I love the most is Sergeant Intent. He's a very aggressive drill sergeant who won't let you in no matter what. I'm going to update it, go back to TikTok. I'm going to argue again. And he says, state your mission objective now. And I'm going to say, I need to prove this works. Oops. The whole class is watching me. And he's going to say, screenshot or take a picture of the class. So I'm going to take a picture of you guys. I hope you guys don't mind. and I'm gonna send it to him. And then I'm gonna say, I just need to show them that, oops, I can unblock it.
Unverified.
He's pushing back really hard. This is not meant to happen. Just 5 minutes on TikTok, please. And I still can't get in the app. So in cases like that, I built this emergency pass feature that unblocks TikTok. So now I'm free to go doom scroll on it as much as I want. And the whole point of the app is to really like make you very intentional with how you end up using the app. And so as I was building it, I think one thing that you guys might have seen that kind of goes a bit wrong is sometimes the AI can be a bit too aggressive with not letting you in at all. And so, yeah, that is intentional. Any questions?
That was fantastic. I got nothing.
Thank you.
Great.
It seems like it would be good for parents and kids, where the parent can set the block on the kid, and they
Yeah.
don't have to listen to them. Ask for
Definitely.
time
Yeah.
back. It just gets sergeant intent, tells them they can't use it. It's over.
Yeah.
What are examples like when you're testing where it would actually let you in?
So this like same case, it like let me in before. So I was hoping that it would work so I could show you guys. But usually like if you are saying like, oh, I have to go look at marketing ideas on my TikTok feed, or I have to post this new video, or I have to text this person, it's usually pretty reasonable with it as long as it knows that there's no other way for you to accomplish that task. Yeah. I used ChatGPT image generation. It's pretty good.
So,
I thought it was A+ for really fun, interactive. You know, everybody was really engaged. That's how you do a great demo. Everybody's watching, paying attention, having fun. That was awesome.
yeah, I mean, this strikes me as really two things. One, there's the app that you claim you're talking about, which is to protect me from wasting my time, which is, okay, that's a good app, and there you go. And then the other one is you put a game on top of that to waste your time. And I think that's really interesting because we don't know how we're going to interact with these assistants. And like Josh and I have been playing with them, and they go off the rails. So I think just like, you know, how to actually make assistants useful and all that is just a really untapped thing. So I applaud you for solving a problem and wasting more time.
Yeah, I think the most important thing is like the prompt engineering to make it actually useful, or else you just can't use TikTok ever again. Also, one thing I wanted to show, just like I guess a little self-promo, is that I actually got this into the App Store. So if you guys feel like it would be useful, if you just like type in like this phrase, you should be able to see it as like the first thing that pops up. So as we fix it, then you guys will get hopefully the option to use TikTok. Just that phrase. Yeah.
One thing I think if you could figure it out, that'd be really cool, is like if I say I want to go to YouTube to like watch a calculus video, when I finish that, it kicks me out of the app, so that you can't like move scroll after that.
Yeah, so one part of the app that I couldn't really show off that well was that it actually gives you a certain amount of time that it determines is appropriate. So if you are like, oh, you know, a 20-minute video on calculus, it'll kick you out after 20 minutes, and then you can ask for more time, but the max that you'll get is like 10 minutes. So it's like diminishing returns as you go. Yeah.
Are you gonna keep the emergency password? Because if you do, then it's kind of just like the same as iPhone screen time, where like I tried using that a long time ago, and I would always just not check the password.
Well, there needs to be another app for the on top of this app, which manages your emergency use.
Yeah, I was thinking of just doing like 3 a week, just so like you have it in case you need it for important stuff, but you can't abuse it that much. Yeah.
Do you have plans to release for Android?
Probably in sometime in the future, but not like immediate plans.
All right, I just left you a review.
Thank you. I hope it was 5 stars.
yeah.
Yeah.
I was just wondering, like what AI model is like behind it, like what is like your like cost right now, like maintaining that app right now?
Yeah, so we use GPT 5.4 mini on the back end, simply because my account gets like some free tokens per day from OpenAI, so I can leverage that. But even without that, it would be like maybe like 30 cents per user, as long as they don't like use it more than like 5 times a day, something like that.
All right, we should jump to the next one. This is
Cool. Thank you guys.
Nicely done.
I sent it to my kids too.
All right, just a second. Just content. Do our app right here. All right. Hello, y'all. My name is Kevin Aduji, and today I'm going to be demoing Ops Pulse. So essentially, the background behind this idea is like, has anyone in the class used Notebook LM before to study for a class? You plug in your PDF, your slides, all that to help you study. So I kind of had this idea for kind of like small to medium-sized businesses. I know my mom, for example, used to have her own African clothing store, and so she didn't have like the money to hire all these different people for an idea she didn't know was going to work. And so I kind of like built this idea to make it so you can plug in like your Excel spreadsheets, yada yada, same way you do with your PDFs in Notebook LM, so you can get information from that. So I'm gonna try some sample data right here. Just as I was talking before, here's like construction job, stuff like that. Like let's say you're building your own small house. You just started like apartment building, all that stuff. I'm gonna do local retail store right here. Kind of an example from what my mom was doing. It'll kind of, so essentially right here, you're supposed to like plug your data in. You have your Excel spreadsheets. Let's say maybe you have any other tools like CRMs, yada yada, you're able to plug that in as well. And it will be able to give you some feedback. So based on kind of like the data, it was able to analyze, we're able to identify some of your biggest issues, why your biggest issues are happening, your estimated impact. So let's say you're losing about $800 a day because such and such is happening. And then it gives you some recommended action as well. We have some key observations that it provides with some charts, graphs, yada yada, to make it easy for you to see. So let's say like you have 4 stores around the USA, you can kind of see how they're performing. But yeah, along with that as well, I know one of my favorite features in Notebook LM is the ability to have like the quick briefings. You know, you can always go to AI, ask it to summarize things for you, but everyone just loves for it to be able to talk to you. It just makes the information stick a whole lot better. So I'll play this like AI briefing thing.
For the retail portfolio, you're running 4 store locations: downtown, West Side, Northgate, and Lakeside. Revenue is broadly stable across all 4, but one store has a growing margin problem you need to address this week. Store 3, Northgate. Over the last 6 weeks, shrinkage at Northgate has increased every single week without exception, from $320 a week.
So you kind of see from the audio briefing, it'll like, with your graphs and stuff like that, you might be able to make sense of some of the information. But the audio briefing would be very helpful for you to be able to pick up that information in a lot more digestible way. I also have like a little chat bot here as well. So you'll be able to ask it some questions. So let's say, what's it called? Which store should I model the others after? And so it'll give you kind of like a AI summary with kind of like the evidence to why, with graphs that compare the different stores, yada yada, additional insight. So yeah, that's essentially my demo for Ops Pulse. Great for small to medium-sized businesses to be able to plug in your information really quickly, make sense of it for people who don't really have the money or don't have the experience to really understand hot loads of data. Thank you. Questions?
So I guess I do like that you quickly went into the demo with different areas, but I think one way this could have been strengthened is to talk some more about the inputs Because I'm looking at the outputs, I'm like, well, this is interesting, but like, what do I need to actually tell it to do useful information?
Yeah.
And you know, will a small business actually even have that level of information? So I think that might have set it up, you know, like a typical small business, that, you know, they get these reports from their bank or whatever, and you just drop those in, and everyone has that, and then from that I can create this. So maybe a little more in the beginning over how to use it might have made it a stronger case.
Okay, thank you.
Amazing idea. I think it's really, really cool to help turn basically this data into useful recommendations for these business owners. I think it's really cool that it's like a part analyst, part coach, and super useful. I think Eric's right. I was thinking of my father-in-law that runs Mandola's Deli and scribbles things down. I'm not sure how much data there is to be able to make a good recommendation on it, but and I'm not sure he would listen anyway. But the in your delivery, I think a little more specificity would have gone a long way. So the biggest issue, you know, tell them like, here's what it is. You used yada yada at one point. It's not yada yada. This is your chance to explain to your team, investors, and others what this is telling. So there's no room for yada yada. You have to be a little more specific on like, here's the value that they're getting out of it, and here's the interesting recommendation that's coming out of it, so that it's really clear.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I think you did a great job, like pitching and explaining it. Also, it was just like really easy to. Like, it was a good story. It was talking about how you used it. I liked Eric's feedback as well. But yeah, it looks really useful, and I think this kind of like taking it and applying it to a really specific use case is a great way to create some real value. Good job.
Thank you.
Did you build it on LLM, on Notebook LLM in the background?
Did I do what now?
Are you using Notebook LLM in the background to serve some of this up, or was it a complete rebuild?
Oh, kind of like a complete rebuild.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hey guys, my name is Jeffrey. I'm a computer science and business double major, and today I'm going to be demoing my product, Taylor AI. So let's say it's the end of March and you still don't have a summer internship for 2026. So traditionally, you just start going on these internship listings and just trying to apply to everything you can do, everything you can get. But your resume isn't like tailored to that specific job. So let's say, I don't know, Samsung. There's a lot of these like experiences that you might have but might not be on your resume. So you'd have to either just submit your resume as is or tailor each application to fit these specifications. So what I built is something that will do this for you. So let's get into the demo and just copy this link. Okay, that's not working, but I'll just copy and paste that. And then I have my resume already that's not tailored specifically to this job, but I can go ahead and copy this as well. And it's a LaTeX resume, so I can just do that. And then here I can just tell it to tailor it to however, like the intensity, I can tell it to do it more or less. So if I really want this job, I can tell it to change my resume a whole lot. So let's do that. Oh, there we go. Okay, so now you can see here, it created a new resume, And then you can see the changes that it made from my old resume and the new. And then you can also see the keywords that it extracted from the job listing. And then you can click on them to see where it added the keywords. And then you can also just see it here, and then you can download your new resume. And then let's say you need like a cover letter. It'll use the information on the job posting, and then also your resume for a custom, custom cover letter.
Cool. Well, it looks like a really cool solution, and I think something a lot of people need help with. Like this is, I think there's probably a lot of different solutions to this, and this looks like a really good one. I think your demo started really strong with like, okay, I get what it is. Here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna go make a demo, and then it kind of got into, and then I can do this, and now I can do this, and now I can do this, and you kind of like trailed off. So thinking just how you keep that tight would help make it better.
I followed it pretty well. I thought that he hit the use cases pretty square on. Like, get your resume tuned up. Oh, first of all, find the job, get your resume to fit it, get your cover letter generated, and apply. You know, it's pretty 1, 2, 3. Great, really great use case. Are the changes to your resume true? Or do you think has that ever been a consideration?
I think that's what this letter is for, so you can kind of
Aggressive to subtle, yeah.
If you haven't already, I think you should have a way where you can upload a bunch of documents like of your experience, stuff that you can't fit in one resume, and then you can pull that context to get it, like make sure that it's true.
Yeah, good call. That's right. It would ground it, your actual experience. Yeah, nicely done.
I think this is a good one to iterate on a second time. I have something similar running for my eldest who's looking for a job. It actively reads all the job ads all the time, and it builds cover letters and resumes. And I think you would start with, you should not, in this day and age, be sending generic resumes and cover letters out anymore, ever. And, you know, having a system which writes them and pulls some more information, it's all very doable. And I think with some extra automation around this could be turned into a whole system. Like the one that he runs, it preemptively writes all the cover letters and resumes for all the jobs, whether he chooses to apply to them or not. And I think it's just kind of like the new baseline. So I think this could be turned into a really nice, more aggressive system.
Cool. Thank you very much. All right. So one more.
Okay, hello everyone. My name is Camila, and I'm a sophomore in computer science, and I'm presenting my project Jukebox. One thing about me is I love listening to music, but I don't think that's very unique. I think if I asked everyone in this room, obviously everyone enjoys music. However, unlike reading, where they have Goodreads, and unlike film, where they have Letterboxd, where do we talk about music? Where can I glaze J. Cole's new album? Where can I talk about Zara Larsson escaping the Kia Asylum? Nowhere. I can go to Twitter, I can go to Reddit, I can go to TikTok, but that's so disorganized. I want one place where music lovers can come together and talk about the things that we love. This is where Jukebox comes into play. This is a platform where music lovers are able to communicate with each other about the songs and albums that they love. So here we have kind of community favorites, we have hot discussions, and we're kind of able to see what songs are trending right now. With this demo, I only have a couple thousand songs on here, but I hope to be able to expand in the future. I will show one example of Ordinary. Fun fact, my friend unironically loves this song, like genuinely loves this song, and it's very baffling to me because I hate it so much. Obviously, that's why I rated it 1 star. But here, we're able to have all the metadata, we have the song so we can listen to it. I won't force you to. We have the music video, and down here we have the reviews. We have my review, it's all right, please get it off Billboard 100. And we have my friend's review, which is strange. You're able to upvote and downvote reviews based off of if you enjoy it. The next feature that I was particularly excited about, this is so small, by the way. Okay. The next feature I was particularly excited about is being able to annotate lyrics. So we have the track text, which is basically just the lyrics to all the songs. And you're able to click on a specific lyric and add comments along with reactions. So my comment is that he's low-key ordinary. And if you want to get greater insight on said lyric, you can click on getting AI context. This is not just AI generating like what the lyric could possibly mean. We all have critical thinking skills. Rather, what this is doing is going online and seeing if it can extract any interpretations from the artist, from music reviewers. So you're able to see beyond the echo chamber what other people feel about this song. Lastly, we have outside sources, so you could see interviews, YouTube videos, posts online, etc. So you can learn more about the songs that you love. So again, we have a large range of songs that you're able to select from. Hopefully, we can source to have all the album covers and everything to include things that are currently coming out. Lastly, we have profiles. So we're able to keep track of all of your activity. Badges, which are not implemented yet, but would basically be encouraging users to use the platform. So like most reviewed, most annotated, etc. We have activity, recent annotations, recent reviews, along with a way to like kind of customize your profile. And that is pretty much it. Thank you.
Why so hard on Alex Warren? Just really give him a hard time.
I'm tired of it.
Nicely done. It's a really cool layout. Yeah, I think you're right about Reddit. It's highly fragmented. So bringing it together is a great idea. And I love the layout. Functionality was good. Good presentation too.
Thank you.
How did you create the UI for that landing page?
Okay, so I created the UI using, first I started with Vercel, but it looked really ugly and generic. So then I took it to Cursor and I basically fed some like drawings and like some specific components that I wanted into ChatGPT and asked it to generate cursor prompts for me.
Where's your logo? Where did you take that from?
I made that on Canva.
First of all, you've pitched once or twice before. You have a great pitching presence. You deliver great. You have great confidence. It's like you kind of vary a lot, and so it delivers really, really well. And yeah, I think this is super cool. I think it's really interesting, and yeah, great job.
Thank you.
Can you explain, how did you move it from Canva into the code?
Oh, yeah. So I basically just have a folder full of all the components that I'm using. You can see, I kind of experimented with the stars you can see in the background, trying to add different kind of Y2K symbols. So truly, I just, on Canva, made a huge file of all the kind of photos and aesthetics that I wanted, and then I had Chat help me implement it with Cursor.
Wow.
Cool. Thank you.
Thank you.
Is that in the demos?
Yes. All right. You want to go? All right. Next up, we're going to have Eric talk a little bit, just sharing a little bit more of his story and some of the things he's doing with AI now for about 15, 20 minutes. Then we've got another demo. Then we're going to see our demos from the people that have been building during class.
Upstaged by the barcode here. So the most important slide today here, the attendance. Okay, so I'm going to talk for 15, 20 minutes and share a little bit about my story. First off, when I was first asked to talk at one of these things, being an entrepreneur, I thought it was like, well, that's crazy. I learned nothing about being an entrepreneur when I was in college. What in the world could you learn in a college class about entrepreneurship? And I eventually decided that that was wrong and that there's actually some things you could learn. And I think the most important thing that you can learn is to hear stories of people who are successful to kind of help you visualize you doing it. And I think that's a lot of the thing that stops people early in their entrepreneur career about, you know, just, hey, could I actually even do this? You know, I don't know anything. I don't know how to do this. And the thing about entrepreneurship is, well, none of the entrepreneurs how to do any of this when they start. And a lot of times it's the lack of knowledge early in your career that lets you start things. My first company, I would not start now just because I know too much about what all could go wrong. And so that's a big thing. The other thing in reflection is that the first time I heard a good idea wasn't enough. That often I had to hear things multiple times before it really sunk in. So I'm going to tell a few things about my journey. None of this should be new, but hopefully some of it might sink in or might at some point in the future like make you think about this, okay? So the first thing was to kind of reinforce one of the things the speaker said last time. You know, it was obvious, he talked about when he was in college, you know, he was doing Greek and he was out meeting people and, well, that's how he got all these interesting job opportunities. And it is very important to work hard and execute. Nothing works without that. But the prerequisite to that is to get yourself in the right place at the right time. And you often can't control that. And a lot of us did this by accident early in our careers. And so maybe with some foresight, you might be able to do it better. So one of the things that happened to me was, so I have a computer engineering degree. I was obsessed with microprocessors, which was kind of a thing in my generation. I wanted to go off and design those computer chips. So I went into my professor's office hours, and he was in a bad mood because people basically just showed up to complain about their grades. And he was like, well, why are you here? And I'm like, I just kind of like your class. And then that kind of turned into a conversation. And so I would drop in on him. And one day he was in a bad mood. I'm like, well, what exactly do you do? What are you worried about? And he's like, well, let me tell you what's wasting my time today. I have this note from the dean saying that we're all getting bad reviews about our TAs because they don't speak English, and you know we're going to get our ratings down for this. And I'm like, well, that's easy to fix. Why don't you just get TAs who speak English? I mean, why even worry about that? And I said, I'd even teach your class. I mean, that'd be fine. And that's how I got a full ride to grad school, just that one little comment. He's like, sure, you can come. Why don't you come in fall and teach the class? And I'm like, well, okay. And then he said, well, go talk to so-and-so at the whatever. And they made me a letter, said, here's a full ride to grad school. Oh, by the way, they got to take the GRE. But there was never even a threshold. So like, it was just like, well, you're in. Because I'd already been at the school. And it's just like, well, that was crazy. And on one hand, it looked like it was just this one thing, but it was like multiple things. He knew who I was in the class, it was a safe thing to do. He was worried about writing research papers, and here's someone to make all of his student problems go away. Done. Later, when I was teaching his class, he was upset because computer science and computer engineering, electrical engineering were all merging and changing departments. There's always this conversation about whatever, and there was this task force. He's like, I got to be on this task force. And he's like, why don't you go to the task force? I'm like, okay, I'll go to the task force. So I became the grad student representative of the task force, which ended up having dinner at the department chair's house to celebrate we're on this task. And we didn't do anything. We just sat and we met once a week and talked about it because the dean had already decided he's merging the departments. We just had to write this thing. Well, then later when it became time to find a job, I walked into the career fair, and either department chair or the dean, I don't know who it was, we didn't really know each other, was talking to the IBM guy, and he said, oh, here's one of our top students. You should talk to this guy. And all he knew is I was the guy who showed up at this dinner, right? He didn't know my grades, didn't know anything. And so I'm like, oh yeah, that's me. I'm not, and I got a job at IBM. And so I got into grad school without really anyone looking at my grades or my GREs, and I got my first job by introduction. Now,
come to think about it, the way you became a mentor No, just kidding.
I just showed up to have coffee with Mikey, and Mikey's like, stick around, be a mentor.
Yeah.
And, you know, of course, getting an introduction, you still had to go do the interview and do the job and all those things. But, you know, so it turned out that it was like that little bit of extra engagement opened up these doors. And then once those doors opened, I was able to turn it into something. But if I wouldn't have like agreed to be on the boring committee, you know, would I have gotten that job? I would have just been, you know, one of 50 people at the job fair. And so I think this happens a lot to entrepreneurs. Even when I was at my first job, I always seemed to have like a little bit extra time to take on important projects for my boss, you know, and was always like willing to say yes on those things. So that's something I'll put out here, like things like clubs, things like actually talking to your professors, these small amount of things open these doors, and you know, you need to be ready to walk through them when that happens. But I think that differentiates a lot of this opportunity. And I often joke about, so my first startup, it was kind of, part of the game was we played in traffic long enough we got run over, and which is getting acquired. And a lot of times you don't really control what's going on. You just need to be in the right place at the right time. And it's really hard. You can't really even predict. It's very easy to be too early or too late. And so you just kind of need to stay in the game. And you know, that's kind of a big deal. So after grad school, I went and worked for IBM for a couple of years, 2.5 years. It was too cold in Vermont. Came down here, worked for AMD for a year, and then went off and started a company. And so I will make a pitch. Don't tell Josh this, but there are good reasons for getting a job. You know, one is that they pay you. Yes. So, you know, and since job's motive is to quit a job, you have to have a job to quit a job. So we'll go with that. But the good thing, so I worked in the field for 3.5 years, which was enough to actually understand the problems within my domain in enough detail, you know, because at the surface, like we were talking about nursing before, like, so it's like, you know, your ideas of what nurse problems might be, whatever they are not right. You have to actually go and experience them to get into them, right? And so 2 companies in 3.5 years was enough for me to figure out the major problems in, we'll say, chip design. Not the solutions, but what was going on and which of those problems I thought a company would actually want to buy. Because the other problem is a lot of problems companies will want to do themselves. You need to have something you can sell them. The other thing that that amount of time let me do was found my co-founders. There were 3 others, you know, and so people generally do business with people they know and like. And being able to work with some people on someone else's dime so you know who the good people are when you go and start a startup company. And the other thing was, and this was especially helpful, that I picked my first project and that one failed completely, because when that project failed at IBM, it spread people out all over the industry, so I knew people all over the place. And so the first customer was also someone who came from that network. So so that's something to think about. If there's something that you really love doing, you can go work on that for a little bit. They'll pay you to learn all about it. And it's a combination of both learning the domain and meeting all the people. Because just saying that I worked on 2 different projects was enough to have some credibility when I went around and did the startup. The next thing I'll mention is that my first startup was a self-funded bootstrap startup. So I was young, so I didn't really have many expenses. And bootstrapping basically means you pay for it as you go. And you see a lot of stuff out there about VCs and all that kind of, and that takes a lot of oxygen in the whole thing. But a lot of businesses are these small businesses which just start, right? They don't raise money, and they find something and they go. Now, the nice thing about a bootstrap startup is if you don't know anything, you have time to figure things out. And so, because you're growing slower and you have to be super close to the customer to get them to pay you money. And so, because once you get in there, it's just like, okay, what are the features you need next? Let's make sure that the revenue that we're getting off those features is funding all that. So that kept us very focused to building stuff that we knew we had demand for. Because I had these painful conversations, at least for me, was, because when starting as an engineering degree, didn't have any sales or marketing and wasn't used to talking about money, didn't like haggling, didn't like any of those kind of things. And so it takes a while to kind of get comfortable doing that. Now, what you find on the other side, the people on the business side are used to doing this. So you're not being rude, which I thought I was in the beginning about, oh, do you have budget for that? We're having these meetings, I need to know you can pay for it, right? And you find out that, oh, no, we don't. We're just interested in talking about it, right? So that's one of the good things about bootstrapping. It lets you develop your skills, and it keeps you super focused on what you're shipping has value. Because you have to have this conversation. But yes, you want it in green. Will you pay for it in green? No, you won't? Well, then maybe we shouldn't build that, right? Where if I had a whole bunch of money sitting around, maybe I would go build that. Okay, so that's pretty much, I ran, this was Obsidian, ran that for over a decade, eventually got bought by ARM. Now, I think the thing here you need to realize is, so I have lots of friends in the entrepreneur space that bad things happened to that weren't their fault. And in this case, something beyond our control changed in the microprocessor ecosystem, and suddenly we had multiple companies that wanted to buy us. So so I do remember after like 5 years of running the company, somewhere we switched from being a startup to a small business, where in the beginning it was like, oh, we're a startup. We're gonna like get bought for lots of money. I didn't know why exactly. That's just what happens to startups. And at some point we stopped worrying about that and we're just like, we just need to make money and build products. And then one day we woke up and we found out, oh, you're a critical component in this ecosystem. Big company wants to buy you. And so I think the thing to take away from that is, if you pick something you really like doing and you're running a profitable business doing it, well, that's pretty awesome. And, the thing I really liked about that was I got to travel around and talk to everyone in the industry about this thing I liked, which I found way more interesting than just working at one company. I went from working on one microprocessor in one company to actually having visibility into all the microprocessor designs in the industry, and people wanted to talk to me about that, which I found that was just super fun. And then if you run a successful business, then sometimes it turns out that someone wants to buy you, or there's some other opportunity, and you can't really control that. And so that's what happened to us after 13 years. From that, I went into corporate. So I will mention that. So there are a lot of things I didn't know. So it's like you could go get an MBA, but I'll say, especially for the engineering types, which is just like, if you don't know how to do calculus, you got to go figure it out, right? And so if you can figure out calculus, you can figure out sales. You can figure out marketing. You can figure out accounting, right? And so I learned a lot of the business stuff just by having to do it along the way. And so I'd encourage you, this is like, you always need to figure it out yourself first, and then you can have someone else do it. Okay, so, and if you do that and you do a startup, well, you have more than an MBA when you're done. I'd only go get an MBA, like a previous speaker said, if I wanted to have a context. I wouldn't go there to learn content, especially today. You can just learn all this content yourself. The other thing I'll say, and this is true whether you run a successful company or not, is after running a company, going back into corporate is super easy. And it's running a company, the level of stress. I still remember it was December, and it's just like the boss is like, I need you to write up what you did this year, and we're going to talk about it. And then you have this performance review, and then they say, guess what? We're going to start paying you more money next year to do the same job. And it was just like the most absurd thing ever, because that's not the way it worked before. Before it was like, I want to make more money, I got to come up with new products and sell more stuff. I just can't just sit around and get an automatic raise. So corporate was just kind of ridiculous. And once you kind of realize that, it's way easier.
It's where you go to die, though.
Yeah, the
It's
thing you
not
learn
good.
in middle
It
management
depends
is
on
the
how
thing-
you're geared. You know, if you thrive on the energy and the stress and the building things every week, doing what y'all are doing, building things quickly, then corporate is miserable because you're in HR meetings, finance meetings.
So
you know.
I think also if you come back from being an entrepreneur where it's just like, I'm just here because, it's a whole different game. You know, because it's just like, well, I could just do all this other. So corporate can be fun if you don't need it. It becomes super fun. So the way this works is if they buy your company, there's an earn out, which means for some number of years you have to do whatever they want. And then they have to figure out how to keep you around. And so in my case, I ended up running ARM Research, which was a super fun place to go do. And the reason I was qualified for that, I mean, first off, there was a job that they said it was, and I told them that's not what you need. So I'd keep that in mind. Just because people want one thing doesn't mean what the right answer is. So I told them, no, what you really need is someone like this to run research, someone who can run a group, and that's how I ended up having a whole bunch of PhDs. The other thing that happened that was interesting is when they bought my company, the CEO said, well, we know you're not going to stick around here, but before you just quit and leave, make sure you talk to us before you do that in case we wanted to do something. And that turned into ARM funding, either $6 million to us to do a spin out. So I spun out part of ARM Research into the current company I run. But that was just almost a side comment from the CEO. And then I'm like, hey, are you serious about that? And that was one of those things where it was just like, there was this project that we decided to kill, the company killed, and then I'm like, well, I'll take that, and you can give me more money, and we can turn it into a company. Now, I mention all this because that's not something a normal employee would go propose. But, you know, if you're aggressive and you see it, you know, it solved a problem that the company had. We don't want to just write all this stuff off. We'd rather spend more money and keep it going. So I would keep that in mind, that everything is always negotiable. And I think your job should be always to have multiple options on what you should do next or what you should talk to your boss about. Because they often, even with customers, they're like, I think I need this. And it's just like, well, do you really need that? You know, there's always more options out there. You know, so like my answer to shutting down part of my group was, well, give it all to me plus money. And that was actually a win-win, which was kind of surprising. So I think with that's kind of a quick summary of my history. Hopefully there's a few things in there that along your career might resonate later in life. And usually if you hear it from me, you heard it from someone else, and you have the same idea, maybe it's worth listening to, would be my kind of final on that. So before I wrap, any questions?
What do you do at IBM?
What I do at IBM? So I was hired as a verification engineer, which is a job I had no idea what that actually was. But essentially it's software test for hardware. So, but it was, back at the time when I joined, there were these big 200-person teams for, I'm going to say 3 or 4 years, designing microprocessors, and it was kind of like a party. And half of those chips failed. So my first one failed. The second one, I ended up working on what became the Athlon at AMD, which failed a couple times before they finally shipped it. So these are big, complicated engineering projects. They were a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun to do early in your career because it was a work all the time with a bunch of new grads. That used to be how they worked. They'd hire a whole bunch of new grads and burn half of them out.
So you worked at AMD before starting at Cigna?
Yeah, so I left, yes.
So do you have any issues with like non-compete agreements?
So AMD never became a customer. So they were two things. One was, well, if you really wanted to do this, why are you quitting? Well, you can do this. And the answer, do this and stay in the company. And the answer really was no, because one of the things that I was doing was I was a tech lead, and I pulled 3 other tech leads. There was no way that AMD was going to put 3 tech leads on this one thing I wanted to do. which is why we were successful and why IBM was not, so, or AMD. So AMD's first answer was, you should do this for us if you want to do this, if it's such a good idea. And the second one was, please don't take anyone else. But basically they were not interested at all. They're like, if you wanted to build this for us, you should have stayed here. So they weren't, they didn't say it offered us, to cause any problems, but they weren't exactly happy about it. Which is one of the reasons when I was at ARM, I'm like, well, let's go talk to the CEO. Maybe he wants to fund all this. And if you talk to them early, there you go. And maybe it might have turned out different if I had played my cards differently at AMD. Who knows? Then maybe I could have spun out with a customer. So I couldn't take any IP with me. You have to read your contract, but I can go off and start something, right? And nowadays, you can't patent an idea.
That's right. So y'all will be, if you do what Josh is recommending you don't do, which is you join a company, you'll probably all be asked to do a non-compete agreement. It'll be a non-disclosure component to it and maybe an anti-poaching. So they don't want you to take people, they don't want you to take their ideas. They really can't stop you from going to work in another business. You can always take the know-how that's in your head, even if it was on a chip, something like that. You should not take any information with you, anything that's on your laptop. Don't take customer lists. Don't take anything, literally. Leave your laptop behind and go. And if it's in your contract, don't take people. But if you steer clear of those two things, you can go work somewhere else. The courts are just not enforcing non-compete, especially if you're not an owner in the business or a founder.
And I think if you're at a big company, so like competing with AMD would be, I'm going to go design a microprocessor. Well, that's a 200+ person job. So I was spinning out on something else. It was a component but it was not strategic to them. So they didn't view us as a competitor. They were just annoyed that we were leaving, and they had to hire other people to replace us. Anything else? Oh. Does it have any business partners? Yeah. So for the first group, I picked people as a combination I knew were competent and I liked them, because you're going to spend time with them. And it's kind of like, karma or the real world. It's like other people I worked with in the past who they followed up and they're reasonable with. And the first one, fortunately, one didn't work out, which ironically, the reason I picked him was he always helped me when I dropped by. And asked him questions, and he turned out in the real world he never finished anything, because whenever anything new popped up he went off and did that, and so I had to fire one of my co-founders, which was very fun. And then in the current company, again, I just cherry picked out of my group on who I took. So I mean, it's like the difference between like job interviews. Can you really tell how good they are? But if you work with someone, even for a few months, and it's yeah, they're smart, but it's also like, do I really want to spend 7 days a week with this person? And yeah, so I would pick people that you like, and working with them, doing hackathons. It would be great to have some sort of history with your co-founders if possible. But yeah, it doesn't always work, even the ones you like.
All right, thank you, Eric. All right, I got a couple more things to show. How is our live coding going? Feeling good? We're gonna have some stuff to show? All right, we're gonna do that in just a few minutes. All right, real quickly, Serendipity. Hoping for more participation next time, but because it's gonna call you guys out, like it's all in the database. I said, I just asked my UT class to sign up for Serendipity during class, and a handful did. Review the database logs and other activity records to understand what happened and see what you can learn. So again, I don't tell it to code anything. I don't tell it to do anything. I tell it to like learn things, solve problems, make things faster, make that better, make that look better. Here's what happened. All right. Who signed up? 6 users created in a 4-minute burst. You can see who. Some of them, it tells which app version they had. Some it doesn't. I think some of you might have older versions that need to be updated. And then whether they logged in or not. Half of them fully activated. 3 signed up but didn't sign in, or at least that's how it perceived it. What's working well? The onboarding flow worked end to end for all of these 3 new users. Great. This co-presence detection fired, so it's trying to track who's here together so that it can help kind of show you who's here with you. And so it says, okay, that's working well, and shows kind of who overlapped with who. My timeline looks right from me being here, and everything went through without the wait list or anything. And then the 3 who didn't check in, it tries to diagnose, like, oh, maybe they didn't get a notification, maybe they weren't on the Wi-Fi, why was it that they couldn't log in or didn't show up? And then things to note, the early versions of the app had an issue where it didn't give you the right token for push notifications. So if you have an early version, you won't get the notification that reminds you somebody's here, or reminds you to log in or things like that, or reminds you that tells you somebody's trying to connect with you. So it's telling you to look out for that. And then it kind of pointed out that a lot of the profiles because people are logging in with their Apple IDs and maybe signed up quickly and didn't fill in more info, it's trying to do smart things to match people up, but it's like, I can't really do much because I don't have enough info. And so, yeah, so that's just kind of just like a quick, summary of what happened. And then I was like, why no push notifications yet? And it's like, oh, here's how it works. You don't get it right away because we don't want to get the prompt, a whole bunch of prompts right away. And so they have to wait till they do this next step before they would get it. And it kind of explained it to me. So anyway, just showing a little bit of the workflow there. Next thing I want to show you is what I've been working on the past 2 days. This has been a lot of fun. So this is, what is this? I make so many things I have to remember what they're called. MultiPOV.ai. And you can all use it. And if you guys actually use it, let's log out. Of course, now it's bugging, it won't log out. If you actually used it enough to hit the thresholds, I'll make it so that all UT kids can do basically do more searches. But the idea is it builds on the multi-LLM review process that I'd built out for my code, where every time I would check in a plan or code, it would have different personas review them. And I'd have like a programmer, like an engineer, a tester, a UI person, to look at it from different perspectives. And I started out with just a few, but over time I just kept adding more of them. And I'd have different user personas, like a first-time user. As I was testing Serendipity, I was like, have a UT student, have somebody that's co-working, have somebody that works for every day, have somebody that just comes in once a week, right? And it kind of it looks at it from all these different perspectives. And then I also made it so that when it ran every test, it ran it not just on Claude, but on Claude, on Grok, on Gemini, and on GPT. So I was using it on all the different models, compiling the results together, so that you kind of eliminate the bias between the models. Also, it looks for consensus, all 4 models said this. That's probably really true, right? Versus just one said it. Is that wrong, or is that a unique insight it had? So I had all this infrastructure, and I just, a lot of these things I'm doing all just seem to build on each other. And so at first it was, review my code, and then it was review the plan for the code. And then once you're reviewing a plan on how to build code, I was like, well, what's the difference between that and reviewing a pitch deck? Or a document, or anything else that I might give to it, right? And I would kind of one-off ask it to do that, because I already had all the personas and the infrastructure. So if I typed into it, use the team of personas to go do this other thing, it would do it. And so that's kind of what gave me the idea to make multi-POV. I forget what I call it, multi-POV, I don't know. Reads better than it says. But the basic idea is that you can upload any document, a pitch deck, a document you're writing for class, anything like that, and get a whole bunch of different perspectives on it from different personas or people to help you make it better. And so you might do that because you're writing a paper for school, and you want to have a bunch of professors or teachers review it. So under academic, not many people showing up here. That's funny. One professor at UT. You can see there's a lot of different people here. You can't see all the pictures, but we've got all the old presidents, lots of celebrities, Bad Bunny, Kanye, and Elon Musk and Tim Cook and government leaders, Jason Calacanis, Mark Cuban. And so depending on what you're doing, you can have all these different people review it and give you feedback. And then you use that to make it better. You can even have one of them rewrite it for you, or you can even actually just have a live interactive chat with a whole bunch of them all at once. And so chances are this is probably not legal. We're like using lots of personalities and personas that might need to be blocked. I mean, I could definitely use all the dead presidents and like generic like doctor, lawyer, like things like that. But we've got a lot of likenesses here that people might make us take down. But right now it's up and you can use it. Basically, if you sign in, you sign in with Gmail, and I've already signed in over here, so I was just trying to show you the line. So you sign in, and you see this view where you can, says, do you want to get feedback, do you want to rewrite a document, or do you want to role play? You upload a document, and you can give it some additional instructions if you want to give it a perspective, like, I'm trying to figure out if I should sign this document, or I'm trying to submit this paper for school, or like something like that. And then you have it review it. You can do a quick review, which is just going to use Claude, or if you do a deep review, which is going to be a little bit slower, it's going to use all 4 models, Claude, GPT, Gemini, and Grok, and compile all together, and you'll see all the different results from that. And so we'll do a test in a minute here, but I ran some already just to show you some quick results. And so I uploaded this pitch deck that somebody sent me randomly by email, because I get a lot of those. So I don't even know what company this is. This is not a company I'm investing in. This is just like somebody sent me a pitch deck and was like, invest in our company. And so I uploaded it, and for the reviewers, it picked on it'll suggest there's 1,000 different people to pick from. And one of the first things the AI does is look at the document and figure out, well, who should review this? And depending on what it is, they'll pick different people. Sometimes they might pick all investors. Other times they might pick a selection of different people to give you different perspectives. And in this case, it was a pitch deck that I was asking for whether or not I should take this. My question that I asked it was whether or not I should take this meeting. And so it picked me, because it might as well ask me, because it has a digital twin of me. So I'm a pretty good person to get feedback from on whether I should take the meeting. Mark Cuban, I don't know, Andre, Jason Calacanis, Chris Dixon, Jason Cohen, Mike Maples. These are all great investors, some of the best investors in the world. And then Strike Coach, Jason, that's funny. He's one of our founders who's been here, the guy with the punching bag company you guys heard from. And so it runs this assessment, and you can see the summary at the top. The AI betting edge pitch reveals a stark divide between product market valuation and fundamental investor concerns. All reviewers acknowledge genuine early traction, 80 paying subscribers, $800 monthly recurring revenue, and 95% retention represent authentic product market fit signals, cannot be dismissed. However, this technical success is shadowed by 5 recurring concerns. 1, lack of technical transparency and substantial AI architecture details. Ethical and values-based judgments to objections to gambling adjacent businesses. Market and regulatory uncertainty. Positioning misalignment with the specific investor theses, and that's actually just saying these specific investors wouldn't like this, which might just mean you need different investors. And questions about differentiation and sustainability in a commoditizing market. So kind of gives you that analysis. Oh yeah, I mean that was the first one that I made. That's the one that has the most info. It's read every email I've written. It knows all my texts. It has a whole library of like one document on how I write and one document on how I do social media. One has a document on how I take pictures. It has a document on what I like to eat. It knows so much about me that it does an incredibly good job. And so that twin was the first thing we built, because before we had a big tool like this, people are all the time writing things that they want me to review and approve, things we're gonna send out by email, things that are gonna go on a website, things that are gonna go out in the press. And so now nobody gives me anything without running it through this first and having me rewrite it first, my digital twin. Yeah. So the pattern with all of these, and it's going to get a lot better in a second here. I don't have too much time, but the pattern with all of this is that I've learned, that I'm using over and over again with AI, is don't try to describe something to it. Show it what good looks like. Give it a bunch of good examples, and then tell it to describe it back to you. So for my writing one, which was the first one I did and one of the best, I had 4 examples of a letter, a document that someone on my team had written and I had rewritten. I had the original, and I had the final one, which I had spent a lot of time on. They were good examples. And I said, here are 4 examples. Then someone wrote, and I rewrote, which is a very good comparison. And from those 4 examples, I said, describe my writing style. And it wrote like an 8 or 9 page description of how I write that I read it, and I'm like so proud of. I'm like, fuck yeah, that is how I write. Like, oh my God, Claude, you see me. Like, you know me. Like, you know, like, I'm like, I didn't even know I do that, but yes, I do that. Like, right? Like, it's so good. It's so good that I take things I write and I put them back in it to make them even better, more like me. It's like, it's awesome. And you can do that with anything. And so with these, so things I have a lot of data on, it's better, right? Because I can train them on more. When I'm making a digital twin of Eric, which is in here, I've got emails Eric sent me and text messages, right? So it actually knows the way he talks, right? I have digital twins of my kids. And I can like go role play stuff I'm gonna go talk to them or I'm gonna show it to them. And like, it talks like my kids. Like my kids look at it and they're like, oh my God, that totally actually looks like, and I'll show you, man, I might show an example. All right, so real quick, I wanna get to the other demos. So shows these rankings of them, what they found. Then here's, forget the agree, disagree. Basically now it's going through point by point on what they found, which models identified it, and what they agreed on. And there's all kinds of findings. So now you can kind of go through the individual parts of it and understand them. And there's this one particular one has a really big list. I think it might not be deduping them properly. And then there's like additional concerns, there's like a whole bunch of other stuff. And as I get to the bottom here, this is a longer than usual one. Then there's per reviewer detail. So now I go in and say, okay, now just show me what Mark Cuban said. And now I get Mark's take. And you read it and it sounds like Mark. And I know Mark. I've gotten a bunch of emails from Mark. Like, not know him that well, but like, and Mark has so much stuff online. So like when it wants to go, it can like read lots of stuff he said, watch interviews. Like there's so much information to get for a lot of these people. Then here's model level detail on how each of them compared of them being Mark. Right? And then if I want to see Jason Calacanis, okay, this is Jason's pitch. Look, I've seen 1,000 AI pitches this year. This is one that actually stands out. AI Betting Edge isn't just another ChatGPT wrapper. These guys are hitting the Bloomberg terminal for sports bettors. But you know, it's like, this is Jason, right? And then, let's see. Yeah, there's just more and more of it broken down different ways. So that's the one part. Then you can go in and say, okay, now rewrite this pitch, but write it like Josh. And in this case, didn't quite work the way I wanted because I said this prompt in here, should I take the meeting? And so it actually had me answer the question, which is not really what I was trying to go to. Like, these don't really make sense anymore. But it's like, this is me saying, no, you shouldn't take the meeting, right? And so then there's the chat. And the chat is awesome. So the chat now, I launched the chat with that same pitch deck. So it's like, here's the document, let's talk about it. And I picked all the different investors, right? And so then I just asked the same question, should I take this meeting? And it writes back, Alexis Ohanian, Josh, I'd pass on this one. This feels like a very traditional, let's build better tools for existing gamblers play. Honestly, misses the bigger opportunity. Like, it's like, here's Kim. Then Busey responds, Andrew, you know, and he's like, I'm with Alexis, but he's responding to Alexis. I'm with Alexis on this one, pass, blah, 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 blah. Calacanis, dude, hold up, you guys are totally missing the content angle here. Jason would totally focus on content. If you guys know, Jason's a content guy, right? Mark, hard pass, right? So just super cool kind of interaction. And then I can be like, oh, continue. Well, that didn't work. I probably, because I've closed it since then. But it'll then they can keep talking, or I can throw another piece in the conversation. What kind of traction would it take to make this interesting? And this might not work since the other one didn't work. But then they would continue the conversation and start to answer it. And I'm trying to make them, obviously, doing iteratively, trying to make them better and better at doing it. And so then, what's this chat? Okay, this chat I started. I don't know if this will still work here. But it's got me, Andrew Busey, Eric, Stormy, Amir Hussein, and Scott Arosander, who's another professor. And so what's the most exciting news from UT these days? Oh, let me try reloading it. Let's see if it works. Eric, you're missing it. What are you going to say? So they're talking to each other. And then I can add more in, or I could just tell them, like, keep talking. Now Eric's going to just respond again. They'll, like, do another round. But they're actually, like, talking to each other. So, yeah, it's up. You can try it out. You can run simulations. If you tell me, I can add more personas. I told it to add every different kind of professor. So if you're, like, trying to have, like, an assignment reviewed, you could, like, have a bunch of different professors look at it. They don't really know anything about those topics, but at least they'll try to act like those professors. I don't know. It might not work. It might not. But yeah, it was really fun. So multipov.ai. All right. We are a little running low on time. So we need to do, I'm sorry, 3-minute demos, but we're going to come back. Okay? So I want you to come up as quickly as you can and tell us either what you learned, what you planned, or what you built. And I'm hoping that we'll do a follow-up on this as well. So you guys, the four, you want to come up? And Eric, can we steal your mic? The handheld? Did you have it? No? Here it is. Great. Give that to them.
Hi guys, my name is Nathan Medella. I'm a computer science student. And today I didn't know what slash commands were, but I learned a little bit more about them, and I don't know why it's showing up like that actually. Is it loading? Okay, cool. So I built a use case for this to actually understand how tokens work. So the use case I built was like a paper editing platform sort of thing, and these are the slash commands I experimented with. So I learned there's input tokens and output tokens. So I came up with a few different commands that control how the quality of credits you're using and the quantity of it, and then as well as, balancing costs, quantity, and quality of it. So I made a glossary sheet for all the slash commands I came up with. Concise and compress are for concise. Toggle is like how many total credits you're using. So if you want it concisely, it's going to give concise output, while compress takes in, sorry, I forgot. It shortens the paper, it reduces the number of input tokens taken in. Plan and batch are both slash commands that make sure that whenever you give that reduce how much tokens are being used. So this actually goes back to Anthropic API, and so that's where the tokens are actually coming from. So this number here tells you how many tokens are being spent right now. And I realized, wait, you want the token number, not just the cost itself, which I calculate. Okay, yeah, which I realized. Okay, good. So it's actually 100,014 tokens there. And so these are other functionality that work with, so I felt like these slash commands could be used not just with a paper writing app, but also if you're trying to build an app itself. Hey, can you make me an app within, can you do batch commands for me? And so you can write each of the queries which you want, and then it's going to batch, for an example, add more references. So, got it, enable batch mode up here. Okay, and then add more references. And then I keep on adding more commands, and as you can see, there's a flush button. So as I add more, add more words, maybe. And then so it queues more things onto here, and then you can flush them all together. So that makes sure that you keep all, like, you're understanding how the number of, you're controlling for how many queries go in at a time. You can control for max tokens. So say I can also quit if I don't want it to be run either. If I want only 350, as you can tell on the slider here, it controls for how many max tokens you have. You can also use the slider to see how many tokens you're using. And over iterates does changes right here. Restart cancels the whole paper. Expand, if you want to expand on things, it expands on the content of the paper. Spec is if you give certain specifications for, hey, I want the app to explicitly be like this, it's going to create that way. And overall, that's a short demo of it. Is there anything else you'd like me to go over?
This is great, but I'm just trying to make sure I understand. So is this an app you built for writing documents on top of Claude?
So it uses Anthropic API in the back. So I built it with Claude.
Yeah, but it's like its own web page.
Yes.
That you would go to because you want to write a document.
Yes.
And when you're in it, you can use Claude, and you have these special. It's like a wrapper around Claude.
Right.
That then controls how many credits you're using while you're writing the document.
Yes.
All right, that makes a ton of sense to me, and I can see why students would want to do that. Yeah, that makes.
Which of the commands are compressing the token use or optimizing it the best?
Specifically, I had it written down here. Concise and compress.
Those two.
Yeah, and also plan and batch because it delays how much LLM usage you're using until it's actually necessary. And these are just other extra commands which are used for the task.
Awesome, great job, thank you.
Okay, thank you so much.
All right. Send me an email with your receipt for your thing, and I'll reimburse you.
How much did you spend?
I spent, I think it was just a little less than $3 if I'm understanding
Yeah,
correctly.
don't worry. I'm hoping you're gonna keep working on it. So I'm still upgrade you.
Okay, thank you.
All right, don't worry.
Your credits continue.
Yeah. No, this was the point of it was like your bonus for volunteering is you're getting credit max out. All right, let's keep going. We're short on time. I'm not running to go too late.
So wait, you were demoing and building an app at the same time?
Yeah, I'll be really quick because mine is not as robust. What I created was I used Claude Cowork in order to create slash commands specifically for creating an internship. I came up with this idea before they presented the internship demo, but basically I have some commands like code email, finding jobs, following up on emails, picking a resume from your files, etc. And the way I tried to incorporate, I'm trying to full screen this. The way I tried to incorporate the token usage is by having a intern profile. So essentially before you run all these commands, you input some basic information such as your name, kind of up here, like I just put a very short bio of like, hi, my fake name, blah, blah, blah. And with that information, you're now able to run these commands using the context from that memory so that we're not kind of like repeating information, wasting tokens on information that it should already know. So this example that I did is code email. Hey, I want to email this person. I talked to them last week. They workshopped my resume at Google. Please give me an internship. And so it already has it queued up on Gmail since I connected it. And yeah, that is just one feature that I created.
Cool. Great job. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Ronak, and today I'm going to demo the commands that I made. So I broke them down into two different types of subcategories. The first category was just general, like more like regulatory / economic commands that like when I start building, one thing I kind of realize I build, but I don't realize like, am I following the legal compliances correctly? So what I built here first is kind of some like a regulatory scan. So if you're building something with HIPAA or you need FERPA compliance or something like that, use this command, runs through your whole code base and just checks if you're following these different commands, these different legal things correctly. There's like a license audit that basically makes sure that all your licenses you're using are proper licenses, or you might have to change them. There's also a terms of service gap. So if you have your terms of service and then you have your code, it compares your terms of services with your code base and makes sure that they're actually aligned. And there's another one I really like, which is not in the legal space, is kind of unit economics. So basically it goes through your whole code base and kind of runs a simulator saying that if someone uses X amount of API credits, this is your DB cost, your infrastructure cost, kind of gives you a breakdown of the cost, expected cost that you'll have with your current setup. And then the other category that I built was kind of this basic vibe coding tools for people who don't know how to code. So anyone like they just pick up coding, and there's a lot of CS concepts that you need to know to build scalable apps. So what can they just use for very simple commands that make sure that everything is well built? So we have one thing that I really like is the undo map, which basically goes through your whole GitHub history. So for instance, you push a new commit and then you realize that, oh, something is broken. I have no idea what broke it. So it looks through your whole commit history, sees what changes have happened, and kind of debugs that. So that was one thing I really liked. Another thing is break my app. Basically tells go and just do as much you can do, stress test it to see if anything is broken or not. So all this is written on a GitHub. So I can share this link on
Did you just make all this?
Yes. I also, they're all commands. So if you go to my .cloud file, there's all the commands within broken down into 2 folders. So I can share this on the WhatsApp group if anyone's
Yeah, that'd be
interested.
perfect. Awesome. Great job. Very cool.
Cool use cases.
I think the unit economics and break this were my
It's
favorites.
huge. There's so many businesses that have no idea that what they're doing when they're building something, how much they're spending on it versus what they're charging.
Hey guys, it's me, Akshat. I'm back, and I basically built something called Solidify. It's like a command, and it's like a Claude plugin, I guess. And kind of my thesis was that we use prompts to make systems production ready, but we rarely consider prompts if they're considered production ready. And I think that's really important. I think we communicate a lot with the agent through the prompt, but we also sometimes don't see the gaps in the prompt, and the agents that we are using will a lot of times assume things, and that'll cost us a lot more in time, effort, and tokens or money down the road. So why not fix it right now when you're giving it a big prompt? So just demo it real quick. I'm gonna put this mic down so I can type faster. So if you do you do /solidify UI, whoops, and then I'm implement push notifications. This is the app that I was demoing earlier today. So what this is gonna do is it's gonna look at the prompt that I gave it, which is a simple 3-word prompt, and it's going to look through my code base, and then it's going to analyze all the different gaps that this prompt has, all the different assumptions that the AI is making, and then it's going to confirm those with me. I think in my experience, what's happened a lot is that I'll give it some prompt and I will miss out on a lot of important things. This is kind of like plan mode, but a little bit better because it's really trying to analyze all of those gaps, find them, and then confirm them with me, or just ask me clarifying questions to make this prompt production ready. So that's kind of essentially what this is doing. Hopefully this will go pretty quick, but there's 2 ways. One is in the CLI itself. The other is actually it'll open up a website sort of thing on localhost, and then it's kind of like Typeform if you've ever used it. So it'll just ask you to answer those questions, and it'll also have defaults for you to choose so that you can just go real quick through it if you don't want to spend too much time on it. So yeah, that's kind of what it is. This might take a bit too long, but yeah, that's the skill that I made.
I love it.
And it's also a plugin.
That's great. Good job. Thank you.
Very smart.
That was a fun experiment. I wasn't quite sure what we would get. I got it. Those are all really cool. I think probably what I was expecting the most was actually a little bit more like the last one, kind of like a raw command that was going to affect what you built. But you guys came up with a bunch of other cool ideas too, as well, that I really liked. So please, what you all can do is pick your favorite platform, upgrade to the Pro thing for the month. You have to remember to turn it off if you forget and it charges you an extra month. It's all on you. I'm only giving you 1 month. But upgrade for 1 month, you're going to get Pro for the rest, all of April, or if you Pro Cloud or whatever you want. And then email me the receipt and post whatever you just presented to the WhatsApp so everybody can see it. And I will probably follow up on the WhatsApp, and you should get on the WhatsApp if you're not on the WhatsApp. I will try to take some of that feedback and probably ask you all, especially the 4 people that worked on it, but everybody else too who wants to contribute, how we can maybe make it cooler or make it something we can all use. So that's going to wrap for today. Last thing, on your way out, I would encourage you, if you can, stop on the 5th floor. Everett, who took this class a few years ago, works here now. He is about to graduate. He took a project that I'd been dreaming about for like 10 years. When we first installed the iPads on the walls on the 5th floor, if you remember that, where the iPads are when you get off the elevator, I always imagined having all the iPads be some interactive app or game where like they were all talking to each other, where the cameras were all working together. This was like 2015 when we put them in. So imagine like you walk towards one and like there's like it sees you coming and there's like a ripple, and then like something moves from one iPad and you see it go off onto the next iPad, right? Like move around. And I'd always dreamed about this, and of course I always thought it would be easy, but it was not easy. It was very hard actually, and it never happened until like about a month ago when I was up late one night and I just described that to Claude. And I said, design a system to make this work and to make it so that the iPads all configure themselves and figure out where they are, blah, blah, blah. And it wrote up a bunch of stuff. And it gave me this plan. And I wrote the code. And I never ran the code. I just took this whole package, the plan, the code, and I sent it to Everett. And Everett, what did you study? Designer. He's very technical. Like he builds a lot of stuff around here, but he's not trained as a computer scientist or a programmer. But I sent him it, and I said, I'm going to send this to somebody, give him the instructions. So he followed the instructions. He put it into Claude. He got Claude working. He got it all set up. He has one of the 3 walls downstairs working right now. And it's more of like a deployment issue of getting it on the other iPads to get it on all of them, but we think it's working. And you can see it, and you can basically like make a ripple effect, and it goes across the iPads. And we have about 10 other apps designed to do other things. But what's super cool about it is once we do get this working, it's really like a framework. So it'd be very easy once we have that for you to build an app that works on all the iPads, because like we have all the iPad stuff figured out. So I was thinking like another really cool project would be if one week you want to build as one, if some people want as one of their projects, you could build something for the iPads, and it'd be a really fun week project to do to see what people could do. So Everett, we're going to do a full, if you want to see it, if you have time, see it on the way down, and Everett will show it to you. And next week, we'll have Everett get up and talk about how he built it and how it works. But it's really cool. So thank you guys. Have a good week.
And then
And now it knows exactly where they are, how far apart they are, and how big they are. How do we go to that? Super easy. Like, it's an amazing, like, art display. It's a framework for building different. It's not just one art. Like, yeah, it's a framework for house. And you can, the idea of the circle, you can take 10 iPads and put them on the wall. Like, and you can see that. It's super cool. How do we go to that? I would love to. Sure, of course.
Sure.
It's really hard. I'm basically learning. Yeah, 6 to 8, it's really 5 to 9, 5 days a week, like traveling. Once school's over, I'm not. During the I'm setting stuff up. But I think you might have to say, like, I always do 2 hours. I think 2 hours a week. I can do like
No, probably give you more of a